Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Page Chewing Comics and Manga Weekly Polls. Thanks so much for coming back and joining me, and if you're a first time listener, thank you for checking out the podcast. Really appreciate all the support and the kind words. Been having a lot of fun so far, and I hope you are too. So, just a quick background. I am returning to the world of comics after quite a few years off. I used to be an avid comic reader, and I kind of got away from them. I've been reading other books and trying to get back into it. So I'm picking up number ones each week, or other books that I feel like I can jump into at the beginning of an arc or a new creative team. Kind of a good jumping on point. And each week I discuss a couple of books that I pick up, and whether or not I'll be continuing with that series or not. I'm not huge on superheroes, which is maybe hard to believe with this week once we get into it. But I've never been a huge superhero fan, like not a big fan of capes and cowls. I'm more of the indie book scene, creator owned, that sort of thing. But just trying different things, see what I can latch onto. So this week I do have 5 books that I picked up that we'll be discussing. And so I went to the bookstore this week. And each Wednesday, I go in there and I just scan for number ones or number twos, typically, trying to find something to jump into. And my eyes crossed the path of the new Joker book, the Night Terror's Joker, and it's the alternate cover. Beautiful, beautiful cover. It's Joker on the subway, and it's like he's just a beautiful, beautiful, vibrant, just pops out at you, this cover. And I thought, oh, they got me. They got me with that stupid cover. God damn you. Yeah, it's a beautiful alternate cover. And if I had seen the original cover, I probably wouldn't have bought it. So I pulled it off the shelf, and I thought, well, I might as well check out First Blood and see what this event is all about. I'm a little bit hesitant to get into these events because I don't know a whole lot about what's going on, in recent events, or where the characters are or what's going on with them. But with superheroes, I kind of figure I can kind of feel my way through it. I don't have to know everything. I think the events will hopefully give me some background. So the first book this week that I'm going to talk about is Night Terror's First Blood. It's written by Joshua Williamson, art by Howard Porter. I believe the inks are Brad Anderson. Crossover events are weird. I try to avoid them. There's only been a couple of them that I've really liked. Blackest Night was really nice. It was really cool when it happened. I was a little bit late to that party, but that's the only one that I remember that really stood out. I think way back in the 90s, Extinction Agenda was another one that I really enjoyed at the time. Going back now, not sure how much I'd enjoy it, but they can be okay. I just hate that there's so many books that you have to pick up. You feel like you have to get the whole story. That's what. I kind of get why they have them, but as a reader and having all these different books to buy, I think there's 23 different issues in this event spanning until August. And I'm kind of wondering why it finishes in August and not something like October. It'd be a perfect fall type of book. But I was a little bit worried about, jumping into it. I didn't really know where everyone was. But with this one, Night Terror's First Blood starts off with Dead Man, and I didn't know a whole lot about Dead Man at all. But it gives me enough background of him and his character to kind of get an idea of what he's about, what his character is, what he does. And he actually was kind of the standout in this one once I kind of got an idea of what's happening here. So the idea behind Night Terrors, and by the way, I'm going to be talking about each book, so I'll be talking about what happens in the book. So if you have not read them, please don't continue because I will spoil them for you. I won't spoil major things. I'll try not to spoil too many major things, but I will be talking about what happens in the books. So just a heads up. This one, there's a new villain called Insomnia, and he's forcing the world to sleep, and everyone's sleeping in their nightmare, and everyone's in their nightmares. Everyone's asleep, and he's trying to find something called see if I can find it, the nightmare stone. So that's what he's trying to do, and the location and details are in someone's dream in this event. So he's trying to find out where this Nightmare Stone is, and I did like the different, like, we have a little bit of Batman, a little bit of Superman, a little bit of Wonder Woman. All that was fine. There are dreams that are constructs that are manifesting themselves in this one. It's setting up, this quest to find the Nightmare Stone, So, I thought it was a good jumping on point. I followed along with what's happening. I loved the artwork. I loved the pencils and the coloring, and just beautiful. I loved it. Great stuff. And so they, in the book, they do mention previous events or recent events, like, oh, Batman, you just got back from X, Y, and Z, and there's a little reference there with, don't forget to read Batman, whatever. It's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm not sure that it really matters in this event. I'm not sure that you really need to know. At least that's what I'm hoping. So this one with Night Terror's First Blood, it's a tricky one because I enjoyed it, and I kind of like what they're setting up here. It just seems like a weird time to do this in summertime. I kind of feel conflicted because I don't want to support these big events because it does force you into all these different books you don't normally read. So, it's one of those things. But the first one, this one, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It was darker than I expected. Beautiful artwork. Overall, I thought it was a fun read. I'll probably be continuing. I'm not sure if there's another book in this. It's not a series. It's just kind of setting off the event, and then we jump around to a bunch of different other books that tell the event. So it's kind of outside of the normal books. It's a different, like an offshoot of their normal series. So overall, I thought it was. I enjoyed it. Surprisingly, I enjoyed it. I was a little bit surprised. I like Deadman. The humor, the humor that Deadman. Some of his dialogue was, wasn't the greatest, some of it, but some of it worked. And I thought all the characters had their moment to shine. They brought in other characters to help them investigate, find out what's going on. So I thought it was a good jumping on point. I thought it was a good kickoff for this event, setting things up and kind of what's going to come next. So as far as whether I'll continue or not, I think I will. I think I'll keep a close eye on all these titles. Not sure that I'll get all of them, but I'll be picking up here and there characters that interest me. Hopefully I don't need to buy all 23 issues or whatever to get the whole story. But overall, like I said, I thought it was a good kickoff. Which leads us to Night Terror's Batman #1. This is written by Joshua Williamson, and the art is done by Guillaume March. Again, insomnia has forced the world to sleep. Bruce Wayne is living in his nightmares. He's reliving the death of his parents and friends and past events. The location of the Nightmare Stone is hidden in someone's dream, and Insomnia is trying to convince Batman he's kind of trying to brainwash him or trying to, torture him mentally to force him to help him find where the Nightmare Stone is. I'm not really sure what significance the Nightmare Stone has. It's just a key, I guess, but I'm a little bit lost on that. But we do go through the death of Bruce Wayne's parents again. And look, I know that Bruce Wayne's parents dying is instrumental. I mean, it's the thing that set him off on this path. It's what made him Batman. If that didn't happen, he wouldn't be Batman. And I kind of get tired of hearing about it. This is like, we've seen it so many times in all the different movies. We've seen it in all the different books. And it's just kind of, I think there's other things that we can relive, past events. They do touch on an old Robin. They do touch on Catwoman. They do touch on a couple of other things in his past that would have been much, much more interesting to get into. Maybe a past event from a past crossover event, or the death of an old character like an old Robin, or something like that would be a little bit more emotional because we don't talk about it so much. But the death of his parents, it's just been beaten. It's just the horse is dead. I get that it's important to the character. It's just, it's not very interesting to talk about anymore because we've seen it so many times, and we know that it's very significant to him. But it's like I would have much rather, I would have much rather liked us talk about something else from his past that he has an emotional response to than this one again. So I know it's hearsay, but it just, it wasn't very interesting to me. And everything was fine. It was well written and everything. It didn't, the subject just didn't pull me in. And they do touch on a few other things, but yeah, just the majority of it is the death of his parents and kind of that whole thing. And so I get it, but I'm just a little tired of it. Like let's talk about something else. The next one is another Night Terrors book, and this is really strange for me because I usually don't pick up this many superhero books, but this one was the one that convinced me to get Night Terrors First Blood, and then I thought, well, I might as well get Batman because it's right there. But this is the book that really caught my eye. Like I mentioned, the cover. When I saw the original cover, I was not impressed, and I was thinking already, like I shouldn't have done that. They really got me. This just doesn't look interesting. This looks really goofy, and I thought, man, I made a mistake. They got me. So I sit down to start reading this one. And by the way, this is written by Matthew Rosenberg, Stefano Raphael, and Romulo Fajardo Jr. So first, so I go into this one with really low expectations. I just didn't like that cover. It just really turned me off, the original cover. And so the same setup. Insomnia has put everyone to sleep. Joker is dreaming, and in this one, Joker and Batman are having this back and forth, and Batman falls and dies, which is the most. This has to be one of the most, just the funniest way for him to die. Just pretty ironic for him just to kind of fall on his face and die. He falls and dies, and Joker and his henchmen kind of like, well, what now? Like, okay, he's dead, and we can do pretty much whatever we want because no one's going to stop us. So Joker goes on this spree with him and his crew, and he just gets kind of bored. I mean, he just doesn't feel like he has purpose. I think part of his purpose, and part of Batman's purpose really, is this back and forth that he and Joker have. This is like symbiotic relationship that they have that was explored in A Killing Joke. But without Batman, without someone to challenge him, Joker kind of loses interest in crime and just feels like he needs something else. He needs to find a purpose. So what he does is he goes and he gets a job at Wayne Enterprises, trying to find a new way to a better, let's commit more crimes but work at Wayne Enterprises. And he lands a job, and it becomes a Joker comic mixed with Office Space and a comedy, a dark comedy. And Joker remains Joker at this office building, and one of the best sections of this one is when his new manager comes to visit him when he gets this new job and asks him how he's fitting in and do you understand what our jobs are? And he's kind of like, okay, yeah, are we the people who approve this? Are we the people who approve that? Are we the people who process this? And she explains, no, we're the people who approve the approvals. That's all we do. The other things are happening on this floor, on that floor, or the corporate bigwigs are on this floor and they handle that. So they have a very small scope of work, and there's a whole floor of these people who just approve the approvals all day long. It's just like this. It's really funny to see Joker in this environment dealing with this corporate, this corporate structure with him and his outlook. And there are some genuinely funny moments in this one that, I mean, just seeing him in that element was fun. It was just enjoyable. It made me laugh. It was much better than I expected it to be. The original cover, I thought, just didn't pop out at me. It just didn't interest me. I would have never expected such a neat, just a fun, enjoyable story with the original cover. So I'm really glad I picked this one up. Not only is the cover beautiful, but it is a really fun book. just without Batman, what Joker would do. And that kind of becomes a nightmare of that he doesn't have that person to challenge him anymore. And I think he mentions even at the beginning of the book that the back and forth between him and Batman is the fun. Like it's just this never-ending war, this never-ending battle, and that's part of why he does it. It's just this back and forth. I thought it was really great. It's just hilarious. There's some great moments. I do wonder. I did find myself wondering. This isn't a criticism of the book, just more of just, I guess, in general, is that. So there's some curse words, like there's shit, that some of the characters say shit or other words, and they're censored, or they're used with symbols instead of actually saying, like, having the word on the page. So they don't they don't spell out something like shit, but Joker is impaling people, or he slams a microwave on someone's head and their head explodes in the microwave, and that's perfectly fine. But don't write out SHIT on the page, because that's too much. Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense. I don't get it. Maybe it's something else. Maybe there's some other government agency who looks over those things, or I don't know. Maybe there's other considerations for that I'm just not aware of. But it seems strange to me that there's so much violence and so many other things happening, and I'm fine with the violence, don't get me wrong, but we can have that, but we can't have someone say shit. I don't know, it's strange to me. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe there's something else, there's other considerations here that I'm just not aware of, and in which case, I get it. So the next one, it's another series that I've been reading that I picked up actually for the podcast that I'm continuing to read. I'm just catching up with it. And that is World Tree number 3. This is written by James Tynion, Fernando Blanco, and Jordi Belair on letters, I believe. So in this one, we continue getting some more background on the characters. Fausta is rescued, kind of, from issue 2. She was starting to fall into, she was trying to get some information, fell into what may be the Undernet. We learn more about the Undernet and how it's a force that lives beneath the Internet, which, I guess I really hope they pull this off, because if they don't pull it off, it can seem really goofy. So I have faith in this team that they'll be able to pull it off, but I really hope they pull this off, because it has the potential to just come off as really, really goofy. So I hope they do it. Not a ton happens with the story, not a ton of movement forward in the story, but we do get some history, some background on the characters, some of their motivations. We do learn a little bit more about them. So much like issue 2, I do like the interactions with the characters, some of the character development. I think I like that we're taking our time and we're not learning too much too soon. And we're, about the Undernet, and we're getting bits and pieces, and we're kind of forming around them with these characters, around the Undernet with these characters, because I want to care about the characters. I just don't want them to be cannon fodder. So I do like that we're taking our time with it. We're learning about characters. We're building up a world and the characters around it. So overall, I thought it was fine. I'll continue with this one too. I'll still be reading this one. I think we're off to a pretty good start, and yeah, I liked it. Seeing kind of motivations and characters and things. I also want to mention that I love the 3x4 panels that a lot of these pages have, the different layouts. I didn't used to pay a whole lot of attention to layouts until I looked more into the Watchmen book and what they did with the layouts and how, the different paneling. I thought it was very interesting, and something that I didn't really notice before that I've been trying to be more conscious of is, panels and layouts and things like that. And I love the layout. I love the paneling, that layout. It's easy to miss, but it just reads really well. And I love the way that the different backgrounds and the different way that they incorporate the different panels. I think it's great. I really, really love it. I'm a big fan of it. Maybe it's because I love Watchmen so much, but either way, I just find it really easy to read. And I think it's the way that they use it in other with other backgrounds is really neat. I think they do a great job with that. So yeah, so we're World Tree 3. I will be continuing. This issue wasn't great, but it was fine. It was enough for me to continue reading. I am on board with it. So my pick of the week and the last book that I'll talk about this week is Swan Song's #1. This is one that I saw on the shelf. Saw #1. I thought, oh, okay, well, this cover looks. I love this cover, and yeah, sign me up. I just thought I'll check it out, and I'd heard a little bit about it. I've been checking the Image website, and this is one that had been talked about, kind of this highly anticipated book. So when I saw it on the shelf, I thought that I love this cover. W. Maxwell Prince is somebody that I've heard a lot about, and I'll talk more about that here in a second. And also, Martin Simmons does the art, which is beautiful and fits this story so well. It just spectacular. It just fits really well. Sometimes the art style just doesn't fit the tone of the book, and sometimes it's the art's so good it doesn't really matter. Sometimes it's the art, you just love the art, that it's, even though it doesn't really fit, it's still okay. But this one, I mean, just perfect. It works so well together. The artwork, the theme, the vibe, all of it. I mean, it just perfect. Everything works. It's just one of those books that everything works together. So what Swan Songs is this new series that is about the end of things. So it's the end of the world, the end of a marriage, the end of whatever. It's the end of everything. It's like a story. It's like short stories, but in comic book form. And I think it's a great idea. I was over the moon with this one, if you can't tell. So the first issue is about the end of the world, and we're introduced to our character who is comforting his terminally ill mother, reading her magazines like Home and Gardens while she's in the hospital. And outside of their hospital room, the world is falling apart. There's a countdown, like a doomsday countdown until the end of the world. They never really go into what exactly is happening. They never really explain, and they don't have to. And I like that they didn't, because the focus of the book isn't about isn't about what happens, isn't like about what's causing the end of the world. They talk about it a little bit, but you never get a really straight answer. But I like that, because the focus is on these characters and what they're going through, and what our main character is trying to do. He's trying to get another magazine to read to his dying mother before the world ends. That's what he's trying to do. And he's trying, he ventures out into this dangerous wasteland of this, if you can imagine being in a city and knowing the world is going to end, you can imagine what would be around you, what the environments would look like, what people would be doing. It's very dangerous. But he just goes out and he's trying to find this magazine to come back and to read to his dying mother before the world ends, which I love that we take this big event, the end of the world, and we shrink it down to this man and his mother, and what his quest is to do, just to read another Home and Gardens magazine to his dying mother. It was great. I love the introspection of this main character during his quest. I love the introspection, the feeling of doom and hopelessness in this point, and just him reflecting back on his life and past relationships and past events. And yet you find some kind of acceptance and peace in that, knowing that the world's about to end, just doing this small thing for his dying mother. I thought was beautiful and haunting, and his internal thoughts too were very thought-provoking. Overall, it's one of those ones that you read and you'll think about for a while. You just know that you'll be thinking about it. So yeah, it's my pick of the week. Really great issue. Off to a great start with this one, and I'm really excited to see what they do next with this series. I think the next one, I forget what the theme of the next one is, but I will be there. I will be continuing with this series. Really loved it. Really great stuff. So if you haven't already checked it out, I would highly recommend it. beautiful artwork, writing, story, characters, everything hits. It's one of those rare times that everything works together. And just great stuff. So that's my pick of the week for this week. What about you? If you have been picking up any books and really enjoy them, if you'd like to recommend anything to me, I'd be happy to get your recommendations or just randomly chat about whatever. If you want to find me, I can be found on pagechewing.com. Just hit visit our forums at the top of the page, on top of our blog, and join our forums. We have a great little community there that we talk books, movies, games, lots of other things. We have a movie club. We have a Dungeons and Dragons club that they have some occasional meetups, virtual meetups. Just a ton of great stuff happening. Go check out the articles posted on pagechewing.com. Come and say hello to us. We are a friendly bunch. And lots of our other reading is set up there too. A lot of our other planning and other things that we do are all planned there. If you'd like to jump on and join us, like I said, anyone's welcome. So I also wanted to mention that this week, the Killer Be Killed discussion with Chris Moen was posted on the channel, and I will also be uploading Berserk discussions, probably more than one a week, because we're currently on volume 14. We discussed that today, and I'm going to catch the podcast up to YouTube because we're going podcast exclusive from this point on. So I'm going to be uploading those discussions more often until we catch up, and then we'll be weekly from that point on. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. We also have many other discussions planned. I believe Chris and I will be discussing Killer Be Killed Volume 2 next week. And then there's 4 volumes of that. So yeah, lots of great stuff coming. Also, I'm always on the lookout for new books, but there's some books that I picked up this week that I wanted to talk to you about. Something that ones that I plan to read very soon, or at least start. And I'm looking for, if anyone wants to discuss these with me on the podcast, let me know, reach out to me. The first one I picked up is Something is Killing the Children, Volume 1. I picked up Philadelphia, Volume 1. Ice Cream Man, Volume 1. Geiger, which, it's a Johns book, Geoff Johns, and there's that's a whole nother thing, but it looked interesting, and so I thought I'd give it a try. Moving on, I also picked up Velvet by Ed Brubaker. That's one that I read, I believe, the first issue of when it was released years and years ago, and I remember enjoying it, but I thought I'd give it a shot. Another one that I picked up is The Black Monday Murders. That's Volume 1. And I also grabbed Black Hole by Charles Burns. So that's another one that I've heard a ton about. I plan to discuss it later on the podcast with all of you beautiful people. So I hope you had a great reading week. I know I did. I had a surprisingly much better week than I anticipated with all these books that I normally don't read. So I took a chance, and it ended up working out okay. Even Joker, that book I just had very, very low expectations for, and it actually very funny. It was almost my pick of the week had Swan Song not been brilliant. But Swan Song is next level. But Joker was probably number 2 on that list. Just really funny, and not something I would normally read, but you never know. Give things a try. Never know what can work out. So thanks all of you for listening. I really appreciate it. Lots more discussions coming. Thank you for your support and for listening. If you would like to, like I said, connect with me, join our forums and say hello. And I'd love to chat with you about books or about whatever else. So hope you're all having a wonderful week. Hope you have a great week coming up. And thank you again for listening. And until next time, we will talk to you soon.